Welcome, everybody, to Comicstorian Weekly. How is everybody doing today, Andrew? How are you doing?
Fantastic.
Good to hear.
You?
I am doing quite well in these quarantine days that shall be
These
spoken
strange
of in
days.
years to come. The great Corona quarantine. We're going to go ahead and jump right on into the comics today because I have a ton of tabs open with covers, and I don't fully
Okay,
remember how many came out. But
that's fair.
I lost my notes. There they are. I actually took notes because I wanted to make sure I remembered everything because there were a lot. So to start off, we have Iron Age 2020, and I'm actually not going to start with that one because I'm going to start
Okay.
with Machine Man 2020 because that, in the order of how you're supposed to be reading them, Machine Man does come before Iron Age. So the Machine Man 2020 is just the continuation of the previous one where Aaron Stack went to follow Jocasta, and they went to Banetronics, and there was a newer version of Machine Man. I believe it was X52 or X51, whichever one is after whatever Aaron Stack is. The entire issue was essentially just a big fight and discussion / argument between Machine Man and this newer model and Jocasta, of essentially the two of them being like, hey, you should advance, you should join us, we should do this together. And he's like, no. Except in Machine Man style of, no,
Sure, yeah.
fleshy bags deserve to die, you know, all that good stuff. It wasn't bad. I don't feel it's fully necessary. All you really need to know is he stands on the side of the AI, and Jocasta and the new version of Machine Man are on the side of Banetronics. That's kind of
Okay.
all you really got from this one. If you
Right.
enjoyed the character, if you enjoy this entire kind of 2020 thing, definitely worth picking up because it is part of, I believe the Machine Man one is 3 issues. It wasn't bad. I mean, it would not have been on my list of things I would highly suggest buying, but it's definitely not in my list of do not touch this book. So
Fair enough.
next up on the list, Iron Age 2020. So this one takes place after the Aaron Stack thing. I do have to actually look up my notes for this one because it was 3 different stories. So the first story was Machine Man finding the robot sanctuary, which if I believe it was... I want to say it was in Machine Man, but the second story in Machine Man of the kind of AI revolution of a couple humans that were just repairing robots regardless. And the first story is Machine Man finds that, fights with them, and like kind of leaves on the terms of, okay, well, you're trying to do nice things, so I'll look the other way this time, but next time I'll kill you. Classic Machine Man, am I right? Who else but Machine Man?
But Machine Man.
There was the second story was there's a new robot group in this entire situation. So there's kind of the humans who think that robots need to serve humans and that AI are not people. There are the intermediates of they're sentient, they're AI, they have personality, they should have rights of people. And then we got the new group in this one, which was essentially the pretty much like if Magneto made a group of robots, it would be kind of like that. The ones that think they are better than everyone else, therefore all humans need to die.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that was the second story. And then the last one was with Dr. Shapiro, which was the cat that could talk because the necklace. And it was kind of a Hawkeye style story where it showed Shapiro getting kicked out of Banetronics, doing a little adventure, and then going back to Banetronics. No text, nothing, just this cat going on adventures, which is pretty funny because at one point he finds catnip, and the next panel is total acid trip, which was pretty hilarious. But then it continues, and it just ends with he shows back up at Banetronics, meaning most likely Shapiro is going to play a role somewhere in there. Right. There's no way they would focus on this cat as much as they have without having plans for it to actually do something. Did you read either of these two that you wanted to say anything about?
No, I didn't, because I knew these were ones you were reading. And I've never been big into Iron Man or anything like that. So I was like, oh, Dan will check these ones out. So
okay,
I don't have to worry about it.
That's what I figured, but I wanted to give you the chance if you had read them. So next up
I gotcha.
On our list is The Amazing Mary Jane #6. So this is the start to a new adventure. It starts with Mary Jane on a talk show talking about the new movie. It's actually kind of funny because the director shows up on the talk show, but it's the actual director, not Mysterio pretending to be the director. And he's like, you know what? I don't remember any of this, but I probably could have done this. He's like, you know what? Some of my best work I don't remember creating. So, I mean, who knows? And then the premise of this new arc is she watches a guy get killed off stage by a man in an Oni mask, and turns out the guy is a professional killer, and she is now in witness protection. So it seems that this is going to be a story of she cannot contact Peter Parker, and she has to kind of figure out what to do while being in witness protection. It was
it's a weird way to go with it, but okay.
It is a weird way. I think the goal that Leo Williams is trying to go with this story is to remove the chances of Spider-Man in all situations.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I understand that. It's just like, because I mean, realistically, it's like, why wouldn't Spider-Man just be able to save her? Yeah.
Exactly. So that seems to be where this one is going. Not bad. But then again, this is also one that is not fully in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I will keep going, though, because depending on how they advance this story, it could actually be a pretty cool story. Like, it could be one where potentially Mary Jane starts, like, actually training to fight, to protect herself against this train killer. There's so many different possibilities for them to go with this one, so it's going to be a fun thing. And I do not believe it. I believe this one started out as a miniseries, but was popular enough to continue on.
To go on to its own...
being its own line of
own
comics,
plot.
So.
Yeah, I mean, its own ongoing series. Sorry, my mind completely blanked.
But yeah, that's Amazing Mary Jane #6. I can almost guarantee you did not read that once. We'll go on.
I did not. No, there are some I know you have been at least reading, so I'm like, I don't need to read these.
I kind of figured that was the case. Aquaman 58. Did you read this one?
I did. So this kind of does a little bit of a time jump, which I feel was a little abrupt. Yeah. So basically, it's kind of showing where everybody's at now. Obviously, Mira is in her coma after using her powers a little too strongly. Mm-hmm. They have a daughter who Aquaman and his menagerie of side characters is taking care of.
The Island of Gods.
The Island of Gods, yeah. So basically, this issue was just kind of showing how Aquaman's living his life now with the child, and trying to figure out what's going on with Atlantis and Mira. And then also it cuts to Orm, who is like quietly starting an uprising in Atlantis. Mm-hmm. I guess is kind of the way to put it. Like, he's not flat out like, we're declaring war in Atlantis, but he's like helping the people and showing that he cares about them when the royalty doesn't really care about him, and he can give them food when the royalty can't. Things like that. I mean, it wasn't a bad issue. It was definitely, there was, I don't think, any action in it at all. It is
Not that I can
definitely
think of.
yeah, I was gonna say it was definitely a exposition issue, kind of showing you where everybody's at now.
Right.
I'm still enjoying the Aquaman run, so
Yeah.
I would definitely suggest it.
Yep.
I also like how they have changed Aquaman's look again. Now we're having a combination of the Jason Momoa and classic Aquaman.
I really like it, actually. Like it.
I do too.
It looks good. Yeah. It looks good. I want to make fun of it, but it does actually look good.
Yeah, it's like he's like, I cut the hair, but I still have the beard, and I'm wearing the classic armor, but you can still see some of the tattoos.
Right.
It was like, I just thought it was a funny way to go about it. But no, I'm really enjoying this run of Aquaman right now. So yeah. I would definitely suggest this issue.
I definitely would as well.
Continuing with it, I should say.
I'm glad that they are actually doing something with the whole Vulko had to get engaged with Mira thing.
Yes.
Because I was worried that was just going to be hey, so we don't want to ever really have to deal with this, so we're just going to make this excuse and never touch it again.
Right, yeah. And then, Arthur will just become king again, and we don't have to worry about it. We can just get away from that. But yeah. Right. I do like his attitude of like, because they're like, you can't let him do that. I'm like, he's technically the regent. Like,
he's like, there's literally nothing I can do.
Yeah, I'm like, he's like, that's how it is. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. They're like, no, okay.
Yeah, all right, we'll give it to you.
I mean, like, what else do you want from him? But yeah, no, definitely, I would recommend it to keep going with it if you've been reading. I would not say this is a great jumping on point if you have not been reading Aquaman.
I feel like if you plan on jumping on, I feel like at this point the best spot to start would be when Aquaman disappeared and arrived on the kind of the dead island of all the gods, because that's the start of everything that's been going on now.
Pretty much, yeah. That would probably be the best way to go back. Yeah. The best starting point to go back to, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so that was Aquaman 58. Atlantis Attacks #3 came out this week. I actually missed this one, but it came out if you've been reading that one.
I didn't see that one either, yeah.
This one is, I believe it's just the Agents of Atlas versus Atlantis. So, Batman 91. I am enjoying this. I feel like
this was good. This was a fun issue, yeah.
I feel like this the new arc started off very, very complex and confusing, and I was worried it was going to.
Yeah, it definitely picked up. I think it was a very slow burn start.
It definitely was, and this one I really enjoyed hearing the Joker's point of view of the meeting with the designer. Like it just kind of gave a whole new look to it that made sense. Like it wasn't like a Joker making stuff up. I was like, oh, it actually makes sense why he would try and do this, why they would do that. And I'm very pleased with this arc. I do feel it has the slight Tom King syndrome of going on a little too much. I feel like this 6-issue could have been a 5-issue.
I can see that.
But that being said, I'm really enjoying this. I think Batman, since James Tynion picked up, definitely worth reading.
Yes, I would say this. To me, this is a great improvement over the Tom King run, which
I mean, for you, that's not saying much.
Yeah, it's not saying much at all. I thought this issue was great though because of the interaction between like Harley Quinn and Catwoman. Mm-hmm. That whole dynamic, and then I like the Batman and Deathstroke fight where Deathstroke's like, "Come on, listen, we both know you're going to shoot a grappling hook.
Yeah,
you're going to save us at the last second. Let's just jump ahead." And then immediately switching when it turns out he figured out he wasn't going to get paid for this whole heist, and he's like, "All right, I'm on your side now. Don't worry about it." I think it was a really good issue. I have definitely been enjoying Tynion's run since he took over. Thank God. So yeah, this was, if you've been enjoying Tynion's run, keep it up. Yeah, it was a good issue. I like the art. The art was really good in this one too.
The art's fantastic. Yeah. I'm curious, do you have any guesses or predictions of who the designer is?
I would have said possibly the Riddler.
This one kind of proves that wasn't the case, though.
And this one, well, I mean, maybe it didn't. You never know. The Riddler could have hired somebody else.
That is true.
And maybe like the Batman animated Hush movie kind of idea, where he came up with he knows that everyone kind of considers him like a joke,
right?
So he came up with an alternate idea or an identity. But yeah, I at this point, I honestly don't know. I want it to be a new character. I don't want it to be an existing character. Yes, chat's saying a couple of people from Batman's past, like Henry Ducard. I could see that something like that. I'd rather it would just be a brand new character.
I heard
because I think it's a very interesting character, so I would like to see it as its own thing instead of like, oh, well, turns out it was, Hugo Strange the whole time. Oh, I gotcha. Right. So
when I was looking up topics for Absolute Comics that Benny and Sal do every Tuesday, I read that there are some theories that it's Moriarty, the nemesis of Sherlock Holmes, who is known for countering the way that the greatest detectives think. And there was when I was looking it up, there was a panel of, I want to say back in the 60s or 70s, it was shown that Moriarty did exist in the Batman universe.
Interesting.
And I feel like
realistically, that's what the character kind of is, because especially in this whole issue, Catwoman's like, haha, I already told, Batman my part in this. So, and he's like, no, I know you were going to. That's part of the plan, so I could see that, like, he's thinking that far ahead. Yeah. So.
Right. So who knows? Just some fun stuff for you guys to think about. But this one, Batman, definitely really good. Not a jumping on spot, but 86 is. Grab that one. Read up to this point. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yep. Yeah.
Next up, Captain America number 20 came out. We do not read this one, but it did come out. Captain Marvel number 16 came out. So this one was the conclusion to The Last Avenger. I actually enjoyed it. I felt like this arc wrapped up pretty solidly. It's essentially she is fighting against the Vox Supreme, and the rest of the Avengers are going around trying to defuse the bombs that Vox Supreme has put on Earth in the bodies of, I believe, Kree children. I liked this because I was worried they were going to overpower Captain Marvel, because they kept saying that the Vox Supreme was going to merge the DNA of all of the Avengers and fuse them into Captain Marvel to create the ultimate Kree soldier. I was worried that was going to be a situation of, oh my God, they created God and now we got to deal with this. That wasn't actually the case. Like, she becomes like this huge deformity, like merged of all of them, kind of a Quasimodo style thing of like, there's Thor's head, there's like parts of the different Avengers. And it's actually kind of cool because since she has technically some of Thor's DNA, she was able to wield Mjolnir for a bit.
Okay.
And it was interesting because my first thought was, please don't tell me that Carol is now somehow worthy of always using the Mjolnir hammer.
Yeah.
But they do a great job because she uses it, and then at one point she drops it, and she's like, oh, I must have burnt off the Thor DNA in my body. And so I liked it because it allowed...
sounds wildly inappropriate. But
I know, right? It allowed Kelly Thompson to do what she wanted, make it a cool story, but not have a permanent impact that would go, hey, now she's God and we can't do anything. So it was actually pretty good. I think if you enjoy Captain Marvel, the final or the last Avenger story arc, it's not bad. If you want to see a Captain Marvel versus the Avengers, this is the story for you. So that was Captain Marvel number 16, and which was Legacy number 150, apparently. Next up, Conan Barbarian. I almost said Conan the Carbarian. By
The
Jim
Carbarian. That's where it's like a Mad Max hybrid of Conan.
Oh, I thought it was him just like eating a bunch of carbs. Always eating bread.
I heard Carbarian. Sorry.
Oh,
yeah. Well, I guess it's technically the same spelling, isn't it?
So Conan the Barbarian, number 14 by Jim Zub. Andy, tell me about it.
So this continues Jim Zub's current run. Conan has found himself in essentially a dungeon crawl.
I like it.
The previous issue ended with a trap where Conan was stabbed in the chest. We learned in this one that it isn't a physical attack, more of a mental attack that allows the stabby to see basically all of their past, and kind of like it overwhelms them, the horrors they've done. Spoiler alert, Conan does not care about all the people he's killed. It's all about survival. So he doesn't feel bad about it. So he comes out of it just fine. And we basically learn. This current is Conan and a group of people are in like this dungeon. They have to break free. But we learn that the competition itself of surviving this dungeon is basically rigged.
Okay.
And that there is an assassin amongst them.
Okay.
And I mean, basically that's it. And at the end of the issue, someone is murdered by the assassin, and Conan is blamed for it. I'm still very much enjoying this. It's your basic Conan story. So if you're not a fan of Conan the Barbarian, or the fact that he overcomes pretty much everything, which is the fun of Conan the Barbarian, because Conan, you're not going to enjoy this run. However, it is classic Conan. It's Jim Zub's great writing. I'm really enjoying it. So the art's fantastic.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't know, without like going full on and telling you every detail.
Right.
I really don't know what else to say.
I do need to check this one out.
I was going to say, I know you were reading some of the Conan based off of how much I always praised them.
You do, and then they reached a point that there were so many Conan stories that I couldn't remember which one I liked. But this was the one I liked because it's Jim Zub, so I'm going to have to check this one out. All right, so that's Conan the Barbarian, number 14. Next up, Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen, number 4. So this is the conclusion to Hell Arisen and that Justice League story of the Year of the Villain, all the Year of the Villain stuff. And I loved this issue. It was nothing but a bunch of Batman Who Laughs versus Lex Luthor going, ha ha, I knew you were going to do that, and I did this. And the other one going, ha 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 ha, I knew you were going to do that because I did that, so I did this. And the other one's like, ha 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 ha, I did this, did it. That was like majority of the story, but I actually really enjoyed this conclusion. I thought it was really good. I am curious to see where they're going to go with this, because this is going to lead into death metal, for those of you unaware. I don't really want to say too much as to how and why, because it would spoil some of the excitement. Did you get a chance to read this one?
I saw it. I was going to read it, but because most of the main books have already moved beyond Year of the Villain, I was just kind of like, meh.
This is a must-read.
Death metal. Yeah, but knowing that it kind of points out how it leads into death metal, I might check it out, yeah.
Because of what you have missed and what this finishes with for death metal, this is required reading for death metal.
Okay, like I will go back and check it out.
Because it also explains Lex Luthor's current position in the universe, why he looks certain ways and why he does certain things. And it explains the Batman Who Laughs, his goals. It goes into a little bit of Perpetua, her goals, and stuff like that. It's definitely worth reading, very well written, a very fun story, and will give you an idea of what's to come with death metal, which, if you weren't aware, is the plan for the next big event in DC, which I believe is potentially taking place instead of 5G. No confirmations there. All I know is that death metal was supposed to be a smaller event, but because of Dan Didio leaving DC, they turned it into a massive event. So it'll be interesting to see.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that apparently it was going to be a lot smaller than it actually was. Then the change happened, and they were like, "Hey, Snyder, guess what? Make it huge." And he was like, "Done.
Make it death metal."
So
it's gonna be so metal.
Very good story. I really recommend this one. If you read the No Justice, the Year of the Villain, and you want to see how it concludes, you want to see what happens to all of the different, all of the infected, that gets concluded in this. They conclude.
Okay.
This concludes everything from Year of the Villain. So I will
go back and check it out.
Yeah, I would say this is a must read. So Year of the Villain, Hell Arisen, number 4. Next up on our list is Deceased Unkillables, number 2. I'll let you chat about this.
This was a damn good issue.
Yes, it was. The art was a little weird, though, I will say. I wasn't a big fan of the art.
Yeah.
But I'll let you talk about this story.
So, I mean, pretty much this is the continuation of the side story to Deceased with Vandal Savage and all of his villains who will most likely survive the outbreak. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously, we cut back to Red Hood, Cassandra Cain, Batgirl, and Jim Gordon helping out the orphans. Basically, this brings together. And in this issue, we kind of, like Deathstroke is like, listen, we got to start training these kids. Initially, Gordon's kind of against it. Mm-hmm. And then you get a few brief pages of like, they find a little bit of happiness in the apocalypse.
Right.
Before it all goes to hell. And that's kind of where the issue leaves off. I feel like this issue had a lot of great little moments between some characters.
Oh, definitely.
That you don't normally see interact. You got to see Cassandra Cain with her mom, Jason Todd with Rose, Slade's daughter.
Which, for the record,
yes,
I don't ever recall Rose being able to see the future.
I don't know the character that well, honestly.
See, I don't know
neither
that.
Do I?
Yeah. I thought that was so weird.
I'm not up on my Rose, my Ravager character, but I don't remember that ever being a thing.
Yeah, I don't either. But I was wondering if you knew, because it was pretty key to this. It was involved in a very funny moment with Vandal Savage. I'll say that.
It was, yes, that was a funny and an epic moment.
Yes.
I also really liked the kids petting Cheetah. I thought that was hilarious. They're like, you're a good teacher and a good kitty. I thought that was really funny. Overall, this has been a good like side story.
Right.
To the main Deceased first arc, because they're coming out with the sequel. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
All right.
I assumed you also read it, so I didn't know if you had anything extra.
Oh, definitely. I will say the one thing that slightly bothers me is the thought process of some of these people, where they're aware that people keep their powers when they turn, but there were certain situations where you're like, hey, so this very specific person turned that we should probably destroy some
specific thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, or cover some things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was good in that sense, and I like that Gordon is a part of this, because it adds a little bit of responsibility and normalcy of like how a normal person would treat this.
They're not a bunch of heroes or villains. Yeah,
exactly. But I also like that he understands when he needs to go, yeah, that needs to happen, but I don't want to be here when it happens.
Right, and because that's always my biggest complaint with like zombie fiction, zombie movies, zombie comics, whatever like that. Because there's always the group of people who are like, we can't kill all of them. They're children and workers and things like. And it's like, no, they're zombies.
Yeah, we have proven that you cannot do anything about this. Very good story. I would consider this a must read.
Yes, definitely.
Tom Taylor. So freaking good at this stuff.
Yes. Love me some Tom Taylor.
Next up on our list, we have Deadpool number 4. So this starts off literally right where the last one ends. And there's even a speech bubble that says, literally right after the last issue ended.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's just an entire fight between Deadpool and New Kraven.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's that, plus you get a little bit of, does Deadpool want to stay the king of the monsters? Does he not? What does he want to do with that? But nothing crazy happened. It was just kind of
not really. It was just
fight.
just kind of finished the fight, and then that was it. That was pretty much it. This new series so far to me hasn't been anything crazy.
It hasn't.
It's been kind of standard Deadpool to me.
Yeah. I will say, though, that the end after story I loved. Honestly, I loved the end story of this a little bit more than I loved the rest of the arc, and I think it was the art. I honestly think that
I'm not a fan of the art at all.
Like, I do like this art style, but I don't think it works for constant action. I feel like because it was nothing but them fighting with a bunch of monsters as well, that you didn't get a lot of details that would have been crucial. But at the end, you get a really fun and wholesome moment between Deadpool and Jeff the Land Shark. And it was just very, very cute. And so worth reading for that. If you have been following this arc, pick it up. Finish the arc. It turns out that Kraven...
I mean, it's worth it if you've been reading it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it appears that this new Kraven is going to be a Deadpool villain, not a Spider-Man villain, which is
shocking.
I know, right? And how dare they go from PG Spider-Man to R-rated Spider-Man. But that is Deadpool number 4. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about that one?
No, I mean, I think you pretty much covered it. Yeah.
All right, then. On to the next story. Excalibur number 4. Well, since you read this most recently, and it is fresh in your head, let's hear about it.
So we continue D&D X-Men. Or X-Men D&D, I should say. So they are trying to find it's something Citadel, and the name is escaping me now.
I can't remember the name.
Yeah, something Citadel, which basically is the previous issue that's why they were going after the werewolves, so that it would guide them, or Apocalypse could use that to guide them to the Citadel, which was is where I can't remember that lady's name either. But basically, it's like it maintains balance between the Captain Britons of the multiverse and things like that. Mm-hmm. So they find the Citadel, they go to see it. The inhabitants basically take this as a sign of war.
Oh my gosh, that annoyed the crap out of me. They try to look into it, and they go, I don't like that. Let's attack them. They literally shoot light arrows. The X-Men respond to protect themselves, and then lady's like, they want war. It's like,
yeah.
Like what?
Starlight Citadel. Thank you, Alibaba. So yeah, I mean, it was a good issue. It was a lot of fun, action and amongst the group and things like that. And I'm not really sure what the point of it is yet.
I have a feeling it's gonna go. This is gonna be a little bit more of the solidifying of her being Captain Britain,
right? Okay.
Or potentially, I could see this head in the direction of she will no longer go by the name of Captain Britain because they will not accept her. I
could see that,
and she goes by the name Excalibur, which I would be 100% down for.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. Yeah,
I think that would be a cool name for her. But yeah,
and I'm still gonna enjoy this book. I like it when they go to the other world and everything. They all become basically D&D characters and things like that. I think it's a fun book.
Yeah.
And different from the other X-Men stuff that is currently going on.
This is definitely the most unique of the X-Men stories.
Yeah, I would say, yeah.
So, all right. That is Excalibur number 9. Fantastic Four number 20 came out this week. We do not read it, but for your information. Ghost Spider number 8 came out this week. I do actually, let me see if I can find this other story real quick, because it is actually very key. Where are you?
This
Outlawed.
other story is very
okay.
key? Okay.
Okay. Yeah, so Outlawed, you did. Did you say you did or didn't read this one?
I did not. No,
okay.
No, I didn't.
So Outlawed number 1 is the start of what seems to be very similar to what initiated Civil War. In this one, the champions are hired to protect the 16-year-old speaker. Dragon appears thanks to War of the Realms. They fight it. Things go awry. A lot of destruction happens. A lot of people get hurt. That then goes into a new law called Cradle, where essentially it is illegal for people under the age of 21 to be superheroes unless they are sponsored by an adult superhero.
Okay.
And this is kind of the issue that explains the situation that leads to that, as well as a lot of these heroes reacting to it. And so that's what this one is about. It initiates this Cradle law, which essentially is you have to be 21 or older to be a superhero. And that is pretty key. This is going to be related across many different stories, I believe, because that brings us back to the one before, Ghost Spider number 8. So Ghost Spider number 8, she comes back to the main universe, and she is doing her standard stuff. The Ghost Spider outfit is kind of crazy looking, because essentially it turns into what you see on the cover there, and the venom tongue like goes down her body and then is like a scarf. So she's saving these people.
I read that, I was like, why does it look like a scarf?
Oh, you did read this one?
Yeah, I read Ghost Spider, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't read Outlaw.
Gotcha, because, yeah, the reason why I went to Outlawed first was because this one has her reacting to Peter Parker when he tells her about the Cradle Law and about that situation. And I actually really enjoyed the fact that he doesn't explain too much, and he's like, this literally just happened, because it literally just happened this week. As for being a story of its own, I don't really know where they're going with this.
Yeah, it's like they're still doing stuff with the with Johnny and Sue Storm.
Yeah.
Turns out they might actually have powers now. She meets Reed Richard of her world again. I mean, she's met him in the past, but she goes and talks to him about it. I don't know. Yeah, it was kind of a meh issue, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's very clear that I guess the Maker is going to be a big villain coming up, but I hope
that's what I would say. I would say he's probably going to do something with the Johnny and Sue, who now have powers and aren't like the greatest people in the world,
right?
But yeah, it's like I feel like they've been spinning their wheels for the last couple of issues, and it's like, okay, kind of get to the point.
I actually don't think it has to do with Johnny and Sue. I think it has to do with the fact that she is now the only spider person that is capable of traveling between universes, and he wants to get that technology. That's my guess, because of the fact that like Web of Life is no longer there.
Right, yeah.
So I mean, but clearly they have not given us anything except the fact that he exists and he is keeping an eye on things. So hopefully we'll actually get something out of this. Who knows? We'll find out.
Lord only knows.
But that is Ghost Spider number 8. Next up is Guardians of the Galaxy number 3. Did you get a chance to read this one?
Nah, I know you've been reading this one.
So this is continuing. If you had not read the first 2 issues, Peter Quill, Moondragon, Rocket, and I want to say Richard Rider Nova go and fight against the Dark Olympus, the essentially evil gods. They rescue Hercules. They come back, and Peter Quill, last issue, supposedly died on the planet. This one started off very interesting. It was a reverse Groot situation. Rocket lands on the ship, everyone comes out, and Groot is the only one able to talk. He's talking normally, and everyone else is like, I am Gamora, I am Rocket. And it was very interesting seeing it from that perspective, but you still got all the emotion from it of everyone reacting to the fact that Peter did not come back with them. So it was largely kind of a, how is Gamora dealing with this? But then we also go into a little bit of the outcome from Secret Warps, where Drax, if you remember correctly, Drax held open the 2 portals and had split himself as Drax and Arthur Douglas. And he is kind of having the inner thought process of, am I Drax? Am I that same person? Or am I someone new? And Moondragon talks to him as well, because she's like, I feel like I'm the broken version of Moondragon, while there's this perfect version that came from the alternate universe that is in the relationship with Phyla Vel, I think her name is.
Yes.
But so this one was essentially just a long issue of kind of coping with the loss of him, the who is Drax and Moondragon. Is Drax still Arthur Douglas? Is that who he is? Does he want to be that? That kind of stuff. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a must-read or very crucial. We'll find out as the story goes on. It does appear that we're going to be going in the direction of, as clearly you can see, we have this essentially rabbit version of Rocket Raccoon, a.k.a. Ranger Rocket. And...
okay.
They specifically name him as Ranger Rocket in this, which I actually did not know that was his full name. But yeah, that's the direction of the next one, is going to be this rabbit after Rocket. The only reason I'm okay with kind of spoiling that ending is this issue was not about the ending. It was about the content of the issue. So definitely worth continuing if you have been reading Guardians. Next up on our list, He-Man's and the Masters of the Multiverse number 5 came out this week. Benny bought it, so I wasn't sure if you had read it, but based on your reaction, I'm going to assume you did not know it even came out or was a thing.
I clicked on it because I saw him, he bought it. He didn't have any of the previous ones. I was like, did I just miss? Have I been missing these? Like, I could probably catch him up real quick, but he didn't have any of the previous issues. So I was like, well, I'm not going to start on issue 5. That doesn't make any sense.
Especially 5 of 6.
Yeah.
So, all right.
So, no, I did not read this one. Yeah.
But it did come out if you want to check it out. Another one that we are not reading but did come out, Jimmy Olsen, number 9 out of the 12-issue maxi series, did come out this week. Justice League 43 came out this week, so this was the conclusion to the Eradicator and the Daxamites. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad ending. It was a little, I feel it was a little abrupt.
Yes.
It was like, we're going to fight, and we're done. Okay.
Mm-hmm. There wasn't as much fighting as I was kind of hoping.
Yeah. And it was like, and we all made friends along the way.
So there was something that bugged me about this one. So in the last issue, if you remember, the Flash tricked all the Daxamites into running through a portal that ended them up on a world with no yellow sun. And this was my problem. It depowered all of them, but it also depowered Superman, which was irritating for me because we have seen in many, many, many different stories, including a previous Justice League in this same arc during the 6th dimension, that it shows that Superman always contains residual of the solar energy in his body. He ended up on that.
So he would weaken slowly over time.
Exactly, but in this one, and then in this one, he's like, "Oh no, I'm now human." Oh crap.
yeah. Technically speaking, it should have been the same way with the Daxamites.
Well, no, because
they were all just immediately done.
Yeah, it was just a little too convenient.
Yeah, which is what I was saying. It was like really abrupt.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't a bad ending. It was just the actual like ending part was really abrupt. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really know where they're going to go. Where they're going to go with this one. And for those of you in chat, the whole "it runs out," I am aware of that, but I'm more referring to the fact that the Daxamites had not absorbed as much as Superman, but they depleted at the same rate. That was my slight issue with it, but definitely worth reading if you've been reading the arc. As an arc in itself, it was very much a filler arc.
Yeah, it felt like it was kind of like, we need to do something. Yeah. And we'll just do this. Like
pretty much.
Yeah.
So that is Justice League number 43. Next up is League of Legends Zed number 5. So if you've been reading this one, fantastic. Honestly, I am loving this story. If you remember when it first started, I was very iffy on the art. Honestly, still kind of am. But the story is very, very good that I don't notice as much. So in this one, we get a lot more of the history between
these two things.
Between Zed and Shen, so that Shen can somewhat understand why Zed did what he did. We also get to see some of Kane going into the very evil dark side of Kane. He's a very, very creepy and evil guy if you've played the game. And we also get a little bit more of Akali in this one, seeing what she is like in Piltover, because they have to go from Ionia to Piltover to try and find Jin. And this is the second to last issue, so it ends in a sense that we're going to finally get like the final showdown between Zed, Shen, and Jin. And I am really enjoying this. The League of Legends stories that they have come out with have been so much better than I think anyone was expecting. And I'm so happy about that, because it's always a shame when you get lore behind your favorite comic book characters and it's very pathetic, weak, meaningless lore. And this is not that case. This is really making me look at the characters differently. It's making me see these characters from their inception and how they got to where they are and the way they act, or the reason why they act the way they act. And I think if you play League of Legends, 100% read this. You can buy it on Comicsology, support the industry, but League of Legends also gives away all of their comics for free on their website. So you can go and check out the Ash one, the Lux one, and this Zed one. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. And honestly, if you have not played League of Legends, if you like kind of ancient Japanese different orders that are trained in certain ways and trained in the arts of this and kind of have mystical aspects of magic from the darkness and stuff like that, I think you would enjoy it as well. It does not require you to have played the games. The games just do allow you to understand certain things a little more and make certain characters more impactful because you recognize the name. So, a very good read, Zed number 5. Marvels came out this week. I don't even know what number this is, but I clicked on it because Benny bought it, but I don't think either of us read it. So
looks like
it's
Marvels
art by
came out in like the 2000s. It's an old graphic novel. I don't know if maybe it's like a new version or a new edition. Or...
I think it is a new version, but either way, it is drawn by Alex Ross, who is very famous for the Kingdom Come is, I believe, probably the one that most people would recognize.
I mean, this series as a whole is very good. It's basically the history of the Marvel Universe from a newspaper or a news reporter viewpoint.
Okay. Yeah. So that's it?
It's actually very good if you've never read it.
I did not know you were reading this one.
No, I'm not reading this one. I have it on my bookshelf, actually.
Oh, you're talking the original. Okay.
The original. I assume this is maybe a like a new edition of it, but
Right. Okay.
yeah.
All right, so that is Marvel's. Marvel's X #3 came out this week. I have a feeling the other one was a reprint to remind you of why this one is a thing.
Maybe, yeah.
But
which I also didn't read this one. So.
Yeah, neither did I. So Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #4 crossover came out. We do not read this one.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this now. I read this one.
Okay.
The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles become Power Rangers.
Love it.
And the Power Rangers become just ninjas. That's all you need to know. There you go. Read this book.
I like it. I am a big fan of that. So.
Yep. It was really. It's fun. It's fun. Is all I'm gonna say.
Nightwing #70 came out. I did not read this one, but it does look like it's important that we got some stuff with Joker. I did read an article that the Joker might have a hand in him getting his memories back. So I don't know if this is that issue. Because obviously,
I didn't read this one either. Yeah.
So, Plunge #2 came out.
Yeah. So this one is the newest book in the Joe Hill House stuff.
Okay.
This is about basically the first issue. You learn that a ship that has supposedly been missing for I think it's like 50 years or something like that has resurfaced.
Okay.
Like they found the wreckage, I should say. So a group of divers is hired to go check it out. There's an island nearby, and they go over to the island, and then some spooky stuff happens.
Ooh.
This particular issue, they find a dead body from supposedly maybe one of the survivors. They bring it back to the ship. Turns out not as dead as it might appear.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. We still haven't learned why, although it looks like there may be some sort of supernatural-ish thing on the island. So we're not 100% sure what. So far, this has actually been pretty good. 2 issues, it's been pretty solid so far.
All right. So high up on your list of these Joe Hill House stories?
Yeah, I would say it'd probably go Basket Full of Heads, Plunge, and then the other ones kind of scattered amongst there, depending on the issue.
The children's bodies or some... The bodies are alive.
Something like
you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah. There's a few of them that are kind of meh, but the Plunge has been pretty good up there with Basket Full of Heads.
All right. Next up, Red Sonja, Age of Chaos, #3 came out this week. I'm not reading this one. I wasn't sure if you are.
No, I haven't been reading this one either.
All right. This is the one I was thinking of. Something is Killing the Children, #6. Apparently, I somehow connected this, even though it's not a Hill House.
I don't know this one.
Did you read this one?
No.
Okay.
This was another one, like, I don't know why Ben bought just this one.
There are some that he buys that I think he thinks we're reading.
I don't know, yeah.
Who knows?
Because I don't remember ever seeing this book before.
I remember
maybe because it's a James Tynion book?
It's got to be. Someone's been saying the name, because I knew the name of it before I saw this comic. But anyway, Something is Killing the Children, #6 did come out. Okay, so next up is a big one this week. Spider-Woman #1. I really enjoyed this. So this is the start to Spider-Woman's new solo series, and I liked it because you don't guess where this is. It literally starts with them going, hey, so this was what happened at the end of Strike Force, and she left, and this is how it started. I loved that there was that direct connection. So you're like, okay, I know it's not during that. I know kind of when it is. I know kind of what's going on. And they also fully explain why she has the new suit, because I know a lot of people were kind of like, why did they give her a new suit? The old one was really good. But I liked it.
I really like the new one.
I do too.
The new one looks cool. Yeah.
I really enjoyed this. She takes on a position as essentially a bodyguard for some rich kids. Something's not quite right. And honestly, fantastic. Honestly, I think this is a very good read. And you know what? I'm going to go out straight up and say it. I was worried it was going to be incredibly feminist. Not at all. And I was very glad. Like, whenever I see something like this, my concern is this going to be a forceful political commentary kind of situation?
Yeah.
This is not that situation, and fantastic issue. Was there anything else you wanted to say?
No, I mean, because originally I was like, Spider-Woman book, not really usually my sort of, like, I don't really know anything about Spider-Woman. I don't really have any attachment to the character.
Right.
But I was like, you know what, let me give it a shot. And I thought it was a really good first issue.
Yeah.
I think it sets up, I mean, I don't really know what the plot is yet. Obviously there's some threads in there, and I think it sets up things really well. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Yeah. I thought it was really good. I was actually pleasantly surprised about how much I did enjoy it, considering I don't really have any attachment to the character.
Me too. I've never have I gone, man, I really want a Spider-Woman comic.
And
I did like you said, I liked that we don't know what's happening, but we were told enough that it was not just a do-nothing story.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So, Spider-Woman #1, I would say this, honestly, must read. I would put it in my list.
I would say probably a top 5 of the week.
Yeah. All right. Next up on our list, Star Wars #4. Did you get a chance to read this one?
I didn't see it. Did Ben buy it?
It was not bought, but I do know you sometimes buy your Star Wars physicals, so I added it in here just in case.
No, I have not read this one then. Yeah.
Okay. Next up is Teen Titans #40. So this one is continuing the fact that Elias, Jin's brother, has kidnapped Jin. He is waging war against the gates of heaven with all of the genies. And in this one, the Teen Titans kill themselves so that they can go to hell and then go to Limbo to get Jin. And
that got dark.
Oh yeah, it gets very dark. There's a couple fun moments in this. One, we confirm that Supernatural exists in the DC universe.
Oh, I did see this. I saw a thing about that. How turns out it does exist.
What is it? Yeah, Roundhouse says, "Man, this is some serious Sam and Dean stuff right here." And we get the classic moment of Robin pulls out all these vials and he's like, "So I created these, and they're going to paralyze you guys and kill you. Just in case any of you went evil or rogue or anything." They're all looking at him like, "What the hell?" And he's like, "Well, I assumed you guys had ways to kill me if I ever went rogue." So classic that. They end up in hell. They have to go through a labyrinth. We learn that way, way back, if you remember Damien's origin with the heretic, and when the heretic killed Damien, we had that little bit of downtime before Bruce was able to resurrect him as the original Super Son. But then his powers eventually went away. In this one, it is confirmed that is still in continuity, and that when he died, he was sent to hell. He had experienced that already. So it was very interesting. It's going to be, I'm curious where this is going to go. Because this one really is just a setup for whatever's going to happen between the genies versus heaven, and whatever's going to happen with the Teen Titans versus Limbo, trying to get Jin out of there. So fun story.
Gotcha.
If you are reading Teen Titans, definitely worth picking up. So next up on our list, Undiscovered Country #5, another one Benny bought, so I wasn't sure if you read it or not. I don't think you did.
This one I've been reading.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I've been reading. This is Snyder and Soule's image book. It's crazy as hell. Still not 100% sure what's going on, but if you're like a good, completely out there sci-fi, oddly enough, quarantined America kind of story that sort of doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but is a lot of fun, I would say go for it. I can't even truly explain the story yet.
Okay.
And we're like 5 issues in. I mean, the story itself is a group of people. America has walled itself off and quarantined itself. A group of people went in after they were invited, and now it's like Mad Max times 100. There's possible time travel things. It's crazy. Yeah, it's really hard to describe, but it's a lot of fun. So
Okay.
it's a good issue.
All right. Undiscovered Country #5. Good but confusing issue, apparently.
Yeah.
All right. Our second to last comic of the week is Jane Foster Valkyrie #9. So this one, we learn about the third Odin's son, Tyr, who...
he's been around.
He has been around, but he has not really been used as much, and not many people know of him as an Odin's son. Most people just think Thor and Loki, but he is technically the eldest and technically should have been the Allfather, but he was punished and sent to Valhalla. In Valhalla, he learned all the stories from ancient gods, warriors, and all of that. And this is kind of the classic setup issue of, hey, he learned something. He thinks he's going to do something really powerful and does not understand what he actually did, and now we're screwed. It's kind of the best explanation I can come up with.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, yeah.
While this was technically not the first issue in this arc, I kind of feel like you don't need to have read the last issue. All you need to know from the last issue was this old embodiment of evil was resurrected and Thor has been turned. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, basically that's what you really need to know. This issue sees the fight between Valkyrie and Thor, and then they sort of win, but then sort of lose at the same time.
Yep.
And then Valkyrie loses the all weapon. I mean, it was really good. I'm really enjoying this series so far. The Death is Dying arc was a little
right.
But overall, I think this has been a good series.
Yeah, I've been liking this one. I like that it's not just Thor, all new Thor with a different name. I like that it's got purpose.
It is different, and I like that. Yeah.
So, Jane Foster Valkyrie #9, definitely worth picking up if you are reading this. If you are not reading this, honestly, I think it's pretty good. I think it would be worth picking up if you've got a little extra money to spend. So.
Yeah.
And our last comic of the week is X-Force #9. So in this one, they confirmed something that I do not like. Honey Badger is officially renamed as Scout.
Oh, yeah.
One of the worst things to come out of the X-23 solo series, and it's stuck. And that series was not great either. I did not enjoy that series, and they renamed one of my favorite characters who had a great name into a terrible, terrible name.
Sorry, man.
But so this is just the start of a new X-Force arc. I mean, it was fun. You get to see the X-Force doing X-Force things. We're going to have some crazy epic fighting in the next issue based off of how this one ended, but not too much happened. The biggest stuff in this were kind of Jean Grey kind of coming to terms with how much different it is to be working with X-Force as opposed to the normal X-Men, because it literally starts off with Wolverine Russian roulette, with with Daken and Logan with their fists to their head. Gabby spins the bottle, and Daken's just like, crap, and schnicks himself in the head. And
that was an interesting way for downtime.
It was, I mean, it's exactly what I would expect them to do, but it definitely was an interesting one. I did enjoy this one, though. X-Force has
it was a bad issue,
good.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying it. I think it's been a fun series. I just do not like that it's Scout now. It's just such a weak... The problem is it's such a weak name, and it just does... Like, it's not like they went, well, Honey Badger was too nice sounding. No, Scout just sounds like a Girl Scout or something like that. It doesn't...
Scout is a very generic name.
It is, and Honey Badger just... It worked for the style of the character of kind of sweet, but will kill you if you get in its path.
We should have called her Speed Weasel.
Or another fantastic name, except they would probably call her Fast Scout.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Speed Scout. Sons of bitches. But as a story, as a whole, X-Force, it is fun. I'm enjoying it. I hope that in another issue, she gets reverted back to Honey Badger, kind of like they reverted X-23 back to Wolverine. It would be fantastic if Daken was the one to do it. That would be perfect if she goes to Daken and she's like, "Oh, I go by Scout now," and he's like, "No, that's terrible. I named you Honey Badger. Go back to that."
Yeah.
I feel like that would be
actually
really
be funny.
good.
Yeah. That would be a good way to go about it.
But I'm hoping that goes back. But that aside, X-Force, it's fun. I feel like this version of Quentin has grown on me because I did have to break out of the shell of the goofy version from West Coast Avengers, and this is the much more Kid Omega, I will kill anyone because I'm a badass.
Yeah, I feel like this reverted him back to kind of how he was in Wolverine. Was it Wolverine in the X-Men? Where Wolverine was basically the headmaster of Xavier's school.
I do not know. Honestly, I have not seen too much. This is more
like along that. Yeah, this is more like that kind of style than he was in West Coast Avengers. So yeah.
Right. All right. Was there anything else you wanted to say about X-Force?
No, I mean, yeah, like you said, it's a fun issue. I've been enjoying X-Force, so yeah, it was a good issue. I don't really have anything really to add. The Honey Badger thing didn't bother me, but I don't have as much.
You don't have.
Well, I like the character. I'm not as attached to that character.
Just imagine if they renamed Conan the Barbarian to Luke the Barbarian.
Okay, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah.
Somehow that turned out to be a very good analogy. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of Comicstorian Weekly. We do stream this live every Monday at twitch.tv/Comicstorian. We start with our mystery cast at 2 p.m. Eastern, then go into this podcast. We really appreciate all of you over there that support us with your Twitch Prime and $5, $10 or $25 subs. Those are greatly appreciated, as well as those of you over on our patreon.com/Comicstorian, where for $2 you get access to this podcast, other podcasts, and great content. We thank you guys so much. If you want to follow Andy, he is I am the Andy on Instagram. And if you want to find more of me, I am Dan T Producer on Twitter and Instagram, and Dan T Streamer on Twitch. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching today, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.